Welcome to M&A Strategic MasterClass. Today, we're going to deconstruct the core tension in every single deal. And that's the constant tug-of-war between a really compelling strategic vision and, well, the cold, hard numbers that have to justify it. The critical distinction really does lie in how you balance these two fundamental pillars. They're often competing, and getting that balance right, that's the difference between creating massive value and, frankly, destroying it. So let's break this down. On one side, you've got the strategic why. This is the big, compelling vision for bringing two companies together. On the other side, you've got the financial how much, the disciplined, quantitative assessment of what this thing is actually worth. In this explainer, we are going to unpack this crucial balancing act.
All right, here's our game plan. First, we'll establish the quantitative baseline. Then, we'll explore the qualitative drivers, the big idea. After that, we'll synthesize these into a really powerful decision framework. And finally, we'll see how you turn that framework into real-world action.
Okay, first up, let's talk numbers. This is the absolute baseline, the entry point for any serious M&A consideration. Think of it as the price you have to pay just to be in the game.
And this is absolutely crucial to understand. The financial metrics, they're just the price of admission. They do not tell you if the journey is worth taking. A rigorous valuation is, of course, non-negotiable, but it is not a strategy in and of itself.
Now, one of the first things you'll hear about any deal is whether it's accretive or dilutive. So what does that mean? Put simply, does it immediately increase the company's earnings per share, or does it decrease them? For public companies, this is a massive consideration because you can bet Wall Street is watching very, very closely. So how do dealmakers actually land on a price? Well, they don't just pull a number out of thin air. A robust valuation uses several methods to triangulate a defensible price. You're going to project future cash flows. You're going to compare the company to similar public businesses. You're going to look at what other similar companies have sold for. It's all about looking at the problem from multiple angles to get the clearest possible picture. But here is the real danger. Focusing only on these numbers can lead you straight into what we call a value trap. This is a deal that looks fantastic on a spreadsheet. It looks like a bargain, but it ends up failing because it lacks any real strategic purpose. Which, of course, brings us to the other side of the equation, the qualitative pillar. This is where we have to address the most critical question of all. Why should we pursue this transaction? This is the strategic imperative. The strategic rationale often centers on one of two primary goals. The first is market expansion. That's about expanding your core business, maybe into new geographies or new customer segments. The second is diversification. This is about entering new product lines or industries altogether to mitigate your risk. Beyond those, though, there are other imperatives. Sometimes you're buying a company for their proprietary technology or their key talent. Other times, it's a defensive move to preempt a competitor, or maybe it's to consolidate a fragmented market. A defensive acquisition is a fascinating strategic play. This is when an incumbent, an established company, sees a potential disruption on the horizon, a smaller competitor, a new technology, and they simply buy it to neutralize the threat before it can do any real damage. And of course, the strategic lens is shaped by ownership. Public companies, well, they have to answer to the market every quarter, so they demand steady, accretive growth. Financial sponsors, like private equity and VCs, they're seeking leveraged upside on a much more defined and often shorter timeline.
Okay, so we've established our two pillars, the quantitative and the qualitative. Now, let's synthesize them into a disciplined decision-making framework.
The challenge here is to create a tool that evaluates both of these forces simultaneously, right? Something that gives you a holistic view of the entire opportunity. How do we do that?
And this brilliantly illustrates the solution, the M&A Strategic MasterClass Decision Matrix. It's a simple but incredibly powerful 2x2 grid that plots opportunities across two axes. On the vertical axis, you have strategic alignment from low to high. And on the horizontal, you've got financial attractiveness from expensive to cheap. Let's walk through the 4 quadrants. Up in the top right, we find the unicorn. This is that rare combination of high strategic fit and attractive financial metrics. This is the ideal target, one that warrants immediate prioritization and aggressive pursuit. Now, over in the top left is the strategic bet. This is an expensive but highly aligned asset. The financial value might not be obvious today, but a premium could absolutely be justified for its long-term strategic value and competitive positioning. Down in the bottom right, this is where we find the value trap. This is a financially cheap asset that lacks strategic fit.
These deals often look great on paper, but frequently lead to costly, distracting integration failures. Avoid them. And finally, the bottom left, the non-starter. This target lacks merit on both axes. There's no compelling strategic rationale, and the financial case isn't there either. These should be rejected without hesitation. So now that we have the framework, let's see how this translates from a theoretical analysis into a tangible executive mandate. How do we put it to work?
The matrix becomes absolutely central to your M&A process. It guides everything, from broad target screening to plotting those targets for analysis, and then, crucially, to strategically prioritizing which ones get your focus. So, here is the crucial takeaway. A deal only progresses to a formal letter of intent when the financial upside provides a clear mandate for the strategic why. The numbers have to support the story. And this leaves us with a final thought to consider. As our quantitative tools, our analytics, our AI become more and more powerful, will the nuanced art of strategic judgment, that very human element of vision and conviction, become even more valuable? Or perhaps less?